Greetings and welcome to the What's Right Show. Sam Mirejovsky here, News Talk 840 KXNT. I am Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Great to be here with you folks. Happy Friday. We are getting there. 3 days, just 3 days to Donald Trump becoming president of the United States. This is fantastic. It's so close, I can feel it. I can taste it. And of course, with the work week coming to a slow now with Friday, this will limit, somewhat hamper the Biden administration to get everything done that they still would want to stymie Trump's efforts at revitalizing America. We'll get a little bit into that here in a minute because what I warned you about is happening. The Biden people, the deep state trolls, are fighting to maintain their relevance, and they're fighting really to block Trump's forward momentum. So we'll get into all of that. A little bit of news, some developments. Vivek Ramaswamy did not get picked for J.D. Vance's seat, even though there was some scuttlebutt yesterday that Trump had personally lobbied on his behalf. Turns out that Ohio Governor Mike DeWine will select his lieutenant governor, a man named John Husted, as the new U.S. Senator from Ohio. Don't know a lot about Husted. Obviously, he's a close political ally of DeWine. DeWine is a rhino Republican. I do not like DeWine, so I do not expect much from Husted by way of aiding the MAGA agenda in D.C. At any rate, it is a Republican vote, presumably better than a kick in the pants, so we'll see how that fleshes out. In turn, Vivek Ramaswamy, there's some word that he is intending to run for governor of Ohio. The term, I think DeWine's term will be up in 2026. So aligned with the midterm election, Vivek Ramaswamy will be running for that open seat. I think DeWine is term limited out. He served for 2 terms in Ohio. I believe that is the limit. So some moves there yesterday, and I didn't mention this on the program. NBC reported, well, among others, but they were the first to report DeSantis picked Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody to fill Marco Rubio's seat. Now, Moody is fantastic, and I anticipate that Moody's going to, as a senator from Florida, is going to be a great asset in the Senate. Look forward to her serving, and she'll fill out the remainder of Rubio's term, and then hopefully, if she does a good job, will get reelected for a term in her own right. Typically, the benefit of the incumbency, that's sort of the way things go. And I know this is, I think it's more to do with security, to be perfectly honest with you, but there are indications now that the entire inauguration will move inside the Capitol. So not on the, steps on the grandstands that were built out in front of the Capitol, but will move indoors. Well, it's freezing. I mean, I saw yesterday on TV that it was 23 degrees in the morning in Orlando. Okay. So there is some very major cold front moving through the eastern part of the U.S. DC is going to be experiencing some of the worst weather ever. I suspect, this is just me. I think this has more to do with security. I think they're worried about Trump, and I personally see no problem with moving it indoors. Keep the guys safe. They could do the inauguration, folks, at Mar-a-Lago. It doesn't have to be in D.C. There's no constitutional prescription for the inauguration. He could take the oath of office. The Chief Justice could fly to Florida and swear Trump in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. Hell, in the bathroom that the FBI raided supposedly found all those classified documents. It could be held in there. It doesn't matter. So that's sort of where I'm putting this. I'm filing it away. It's is it cold? Is it the weather? Is it security? I can't really tell you. The Democrats continue to rail against Trump's nominees on the Hill. I mean, this is all very predictable. What can I tell you? Kristi Noem, she is South Dakota governor, and is she's been tapped to lead the Department of Homeland Security, and of course the Democrats got nasty with her. Republicans asked her some great questions. She actually comes across better than I expected. It's not for nothing. She's performing well. She looks good. She's answering questions competently. So Kristi Noem was on deck today. The confirmation schedule. Kristi Noem's today. She's on deck. Tuesday, next week, the day after the inauguration, Doug Collins, Department of Veterans Affairs, he'll have his hearing. Then Thursday, Brooke Rollins, the Agriculture Department. I mean, they're gonna start rolling through these people pretty quickly. We don't have a date yet for Kash Patel, do we? I don't think so. As of this morning, we didn't. And I'm looking through some of these other people. Like Doge doesn't require any hearings. I mean, some of you have emailed me saying, well, when is Musk going to testify? Boy, I would love to see that. Musk has no patience for idiots. Can you imagine if Musk was testifying? It would be amazing. Sooner or later, of course, if the Democrats, particularly if the Democrats seize control of a branch or a part of Congress in the midterms, expect Musk to be hauled in. But until then, no, he won't testify. Neither will Vivek. Tom Homan, the border czar, that's not a position that requires any Senate oversight. Chief of Staff, the same thing. Susie Wiles won't testify. The big ones that are left, that are controversial are Kash Patel, RFK Jr., maybe NIH, Jay Bhattacharya, and then I think, of course, Tulsi Gabbard for DNI. Yeah, so these are the remaining ones that we don't have a date on, and I guess maybe saving maybe the best for the last. We'll see. So this is, again, to be clear, the hearings that we've heard that have been completed. Now what happens is the committee votes. And this is why there are tweets now and public statements coming out from Democrats on these committees. You've got Mazie Hirono. I was like, well, I've spoken to, I've heard what I needed to hear, and and Pete Hegseth is a no. It really doesn't matter. We expected her to vote no. That's not news. That's just her going on record for being the political apparatchik that she is. So the Mazie Hironos of the world are saying no. There will be a vote. These folks, as long as they've got Republican support, will pass through the committee. The committees will vote individually to advance the nomination of whatever individual it is, position, to the floor of the Senate. And then, of course, it's up to Senate leadership, which is run by Thune, a Republican, to determine the time and pace of a full Senate vote. And there's not much the Democrats can do to obstruct that. There will be, break the filibuster, right? I mean, that's, but we have Harry Reid to thank for that. So that went out the window. So Democrats were sort of powerless here, being in the minority, to get much done. And that is why DeWine and particularly DeSantis are eager to get their new senators that are replacing J.D. Vance and of course Marco Rubio. It's very important to get those senators on the floor of the Senate sworn in as soon as possible, so that, of course, they can pass through and get these Trump nominees to the finish line. So very, very important. And I think basically once, DeSantis and DeWine make their pick, the nominee, their nominee for Senate gets sent to D.C. and gets sworn in. I mean, there's very little to it. The law is very clear, and each state has the discretion based on its constitution who picks a replacement senator. And that authority usually vested in the governor. So not a lot of dispute there. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the resistance. I keep telling you that there is a real resistance inside the Biden deep state, right? It's not just the administration, but it's the entire organization of the federal government that is actively working to stymie Trump, to slow him down, to restrict his forward momentum when he comes into office. And there's one particular clip I want to play for you that's just absolutely lays it all bare. And it's exactly what I've been telling you for weeks and weeks now. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Here, listening to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Now, what isn't right is what Biden is doing on his way out the door, pretending to be Mr. Nice, Mr. Affable, Mr. We're helping with the transition because we believe in the peaceful transfer of power, paying lip service to the mainstream media that is just lapping it all up, eating it up. They're regurgitating it out there for the masses. But in reality, behind the scenes, Biden and his goons are making it almost impossible for Trump to make moves following his inauguration. And the fear, of course, is, and I tell you, they understand how the government works. You got to hand them that. All communists do. They're not ignorant as to the laws of economics. They're not ignorant on how government structures are best organized. In fact, they're very good at usurping, mechanisms put in place to do good for evil. That's precisely what's happening here. And there's this lawyer who's a junior lawfare guy who is, talking to some other libs about this, and they're saying the quiet part out loud. His name's Michael Popuk, and he's, part of the Midas Touch, kind of lawfare organization that's been a thorn in Trump's side. And this was a few days ago on the Legal AF podcast. I don't know what the AF stands for, Robbie. I can guess. But what he's talking about here is absolutely disgusting. Here it is.
So I know Musk's lawyer, Alex Spiro. I think he also represents a number of people, but Alex Spiro's representing Musk, and he's come out and said, "Oh, it's a ticky-tack lawsuit, and shows they don't have anything against him and whatever." But the reason that you would want to file this suit is the same reason that Joe Biden is continuing to pass laws to try to Trump-proof democracy. The more Joe Biden does in the waning days of his administration through administrative agencies like SEC and stacks it up in front of Donald Trump, the more Donald Trump has to undo.
Exactly. Now, pause it there. See what is it? Trump-proof democracy. To these crazy leftists, it's not about freedom. It's not about democracy. It's not about one person, one voice. It's their agenda. Trump just won the election. But the way Mr. Popuk describes this is even though Trump won the election, and nobody's disputing that he didn't win it fair and square, it's not actually about democracy. It's about stopping the agenda that he was elected to advance on behalf of the American people. That's why I call these people fascists. Anyway, we'll let him continue.
The more Joe Biden does, the more Donald Trump has to undo. And eventually, in that curve of resources, political capital, and time, Donald Trump's going to run short. There's only so much he can do on day 1 or day 100 in his administration. And many of the things that Joe Biden has done, for instance, are Trump-proof. It's going to be very difficult for him to reverse 330 million acres being put into a wilderness preserve so it can't be drilled for oil or gas based on the way that law is written. Very smart. It's going to be very hard for Donald Trump immediately to undo giving people temporary protective status as immigrants. And it's going to be very hard for him to kill lawsuits like the one that was just filed against Musk. It will happen. The new SEC chair will withdraw this.
Why? Because it's a bogus suit. Everybody knows it's a bogus suit. But wait, this is exactly what I told you guys the other day. There is a political downside to it. And this Michael Popuk, lib lawyer, gets right to it.
But we want Trump to expend scarce political capital and look the American people in the eye and say, oh, I took that lawsuit away. I gave Musk a free ride, even though he's going to be the head of my Department of Government Efficiency. The show Conflicted Ethics. It helps in our politics to see Donald Trump have to make actual moves on a chessboard, all for the public to see. And that's why these cases being filed even so late, even on the last day or the last minute, are important because of what Donald Trump's going to have to expend in order to undo it. And every time he's doing something to undo something that Joe Biden or the SEC did is one less minute, one less resource that he has to do something forward-looking, to do something to advance one of his policies. That's why you got to continue to build. You want to build a wall? Build a wall of policies and lawsuits and rules and executive orders that Donald Trump has to try to dismantle in the limited time he has. I know it seems like it's interminable. He hasn't even gotten in yet. But I'm telling you, that 4 years is going to go by quickly. The 2 years until the midterms is going to go by even more quickly. He could be lame duck within 18 months if we have our way.
I'm going to tell you, well, first off, he admits here, point blank, that these are meritless suits, stupid policy decisions. They're literally designed just to politically hamper Trump during his term. So really what you have here is the interference with democracy and the suppression of democracy because Trump ran on a platform. And the Democrats here are very open about the fact that they don't like his platform. They don't like what the American people voted for. And so consequently, they will do everything in their power to stop it. Now, but this is I don't know how successful these efforts are going to be. A couple of thoughts. Number one, I think these Democrats have no idea how much more competent Trump's second term is already and will be than his first. I just think very strongly that the people that Trump is bringing in are miles above just quality and focus and ideological unity to those that came in 2017. Second, this is maybe even more important. I think that the people around Biden and his administration are not particularly the best and the brightest. And I think that they are not necessarily doing everything as smartly as they think to prevent themselves, to stop the Trump agenda. I just don't think it's going to be as successful as they believe. I really think that when you put people like Elon Musk, his brain, to solving this problem. There's no, right? There's no, it won't work, Sam. It's not going to work. Can't do it. We got blocked. The kind of brains that are going into this administration are the can do, will do. How do we do it? Make it happen. Who cares if we get sued? Who cares if it gets tied up? Screw it. We're going to make America great again. That's what's going on. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The What's Right Show will be back in just a moment. Greetings and welcome back to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on News Talk 840 KXNT. Folks, I, your host, Sam Mirejovsky, will be here Monday. Sorry to my team for making you join me. Sorry, Robbie, ruining your 3-day weekend this way. But Monday is kind of a big day. We have some changes in our government. I don't know if you've heard about that. But if you haven't, we're getting a new president. That's right. 3 days from now, Donaldus Maximus will become the 47th president of the United States, assuming Joe Biden doesn't die between now and then. A lot of people, do you remember all the speculation that Biden was going to step down for the last week? He was going to step down, and he was going to so that Kamala Harris could be the first woman president. This is the kind of crazy thinking you have within the Democratic Party. They believe their own propaganda. They really believe it. No wonder there's such an incentive by the media, by people in the last 4 years in Biden administration fighting so hard to put the lid on social media. There's a reason for it. They know that people are just dumb enough to believe this. The hate, I'm using that word very specifically, the hate that Joe Biden feel for Kamala Harris and for other Democrats is unreal. So Joe Biden will not be stepping down for a minute just to, give Kamala Harris something, extra, another feather in her crown. Not going to do it. Plus, Joe Biden's loving his last minutes. I saw some, he sat down with that for that interview. His last interview of the year, and he showed how he went to get an ice cream. He went to get a milkshake from the kitchen in the White House. I mean, Biden is this guy who never had it this good, right? If you're Donald Trump, I'm bringing it to Donald Trump, a little compare and contrast. If you're Donald Trump, he flies around on a giant private jet. He lives in a palace. Okay, Mar-a-Lago is palatial. When he's not at Mar-a-Lago, he's in a triplex penthouse apartment in probably the nicest part of New York City. He can order any food he wants, although, his menu is pretty limited from what I hear. But my point is that the trappings, the luxuries afforded by the White House to a guy like Donald Trump are not that big. But for Biden, who's been a lifelong government loser, all of a sudden getting waited on hand and foot is like unbelievable. People don't realize how little and petty he is. He's loving it. He's just sucking it all up down to the last bit of the free milkshakes he's scoring, wandering around the White House, shuffling around, probably with 4 people around him just to make sure he doesn't keel over. So anyway, we're going to have a new president on Monday. We will be here. We're going to go, cover everything that we know so far in the first minutes of the hours of the Trump presidency. I don't know what to expect. I have some thoughts, and I'm going to get to that next hour here because I look at this hand wringing right over Trump's enemies list. And the nominees are getting asked that. The Attorney General yesterday, Pam Bondi, was asked about it. No doubt Kash Patel will be grilled hard when it comes to this enemies list because, in fact, he drafted one. But I want to get into that because I think this is really, one, it has sunk into the Democrat psyche and they're freaked out about it. I mean, there is genuine consternation. And over the weekend, one thing we can absolutely expect are pardons. We're going to get pardons. And I want to be able to talk about those here on Monday. I don't want to wait another day and have to talk about everything that's happened in the first day of Trump's administration and whatever Biden drops in our lap on his way out the door. But there will be pardons. And the point is that they can't, he's not going to, I don't know if they can pardon everybody, right? And will they pardon people just on, Kash Patel's list or people that Trump has named specifically? How many of those people are still in Biden's good graces? I mean, there's just a lot to consider there. But it is coming down the hatch. I'm seeing some of the reports now, and I'm not certain what's legitimately happening. So I got to read the parts. So remember, with the Hunter Biden pardon. Thank you. My goodness, Hunter Biden pardon. It shouldn't be that hard. We didn't really know what the exact terms of it were until I was able to look at the actual text, because the press release described something very different than what was in the text. If you'll remember, the press release said, my son's been persecuted. He's had these pending charges against him, politicized process, boo-hoo, woo-hoo, right? And so to make it right, we're going to make it go away, give him a pardon, let him move on with his life. Well, then you look at the pardon and you're like, holy shnikes, this is a blanket pardon for almost, shy a week, 11 years of any and all federal criminal activity. Very different, the text of the pardon, than what was purported in the White House press release. So we got to be very circumspect about it. And I think we'll know more certainly on Monday. So, okay, so that's one thing to expect here. And in that light, I personally, and I've told you I have an evolving stance on this, I think every person who did wrong, who violated their oath of office, attorneys who violated their ethical duties, right? Not to bring frivolous lawsuits, judges who violated their oaths, politicians, sworn officers of the United States who violated their oaths. Anybody that did wrong should be criminally investigated. We have to put a severe lesson here for future generations of wannabe political saboteurs, the way that the Democrats were here in the Department of Justice, the FBI, the intelligence community, members of Congress. It's not a comprehensive list. Judges like Tanya Chutkan, state officers. Look at Fani Willis. I mean, this was a targeted hit on Trump to take out a political opponent of the Democratic Party, and she colluded with Biden's Department of Justice. We know there were meetings. They all vehemently deny this, but we know there are meetings because, for example, the billing for those meetings was put forward to the good citizens of Fulton County by Nathan Wade. Nathan Wade was lover boy, right, at the time, also co-counsel on the case as the outside prosecutor hired at an hourly rate by Fani Willis, but she was also stooping him. And so it all came out. It all came out in the open. It was all there. The meetings, we know what happened. It stinks from just big time. So I want to see a clearing of this. And like I said, I'll get into to Kash Patel's enemies list here at the top of the hour. But it's crazy. Now, when I tell you it's sunk into the Democrat psyche, Colbert last night. Colbert used to be funny. You remember that when he was a O'Reilly spoof when he did that? And he'd do mock interviews with people, and it was I don't know, I laughed at it. His Eleanor Holmes Norton interview, still one of the funniest things I've seen. But Colbert went full lib when that show ended, that comedy show, and he's been a political commentator basically ever since, which made him fantastically boring and unfunny. So last night, he got up, and, we're counting down the days before Donaldus Maximus becomes president. So is he, but just not in as happy of a way. Listen to this.
It's just a little bit of sweet and sour, a little semi-sweet chocolate chip. It's the end of an era because this is our last show of the Biden administration. Yeah, it's been a good run. Yeah. It's been a good run, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts. The next time. Next time you all see me, Donald Trump will be president, and you may not see me. Next 4 years, we're taking this one day at a time.
We're taking it one day at a time. I know, is he trying to be funny? See, I don't think so. I think there are actual adult Democrats out there that think that their lives under Trump are over as they know it. They think they're going to be scooped up and arrested. Michael Cohen is hiding out in Paris, for Pete's sake. I'm going to go have to chase him down. I'm headed there in a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm going to go find Michael Cohen. Robbie, should I do that? Just get a boom microphone. You should come with me. We go Michael Cohen hunting as he waits out to see if the Trump Department of Justice goes after him. Absolutely crazy stuff. Oh, I got to take a break. I'll get to that video too, Robbie. The runner. Oh my goodness. The left is insane. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Indeed, friends, happy Friday. 3 days to go. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. Cannot wait. Just before the break, we were talking about Colbert and other Democrats freaking out about what's going to happen to them when Trump becomes El Presidente, El Jefe Numero Uno. Oh, they're freaking out. Well, ordinary libs across the country freaking out as well. This young lady, we'll call her that, woman who likes to go jogging. This was a video that New York Post found, I guess on TikTok, and then ran a big story about it. It's absolutely hilarious. She is worried that in Trump's America, she will not be safe running as a woman. The solution, well, you've got to see it.
If you're like me and you're scared to run at night as a woman, don't be. I feel great about myself. I'm doing things I never would have done. A woman. Yo, bro. Get go.
So here's what I do to run at night as a man.
Just literally anything
She's in a
man's ever annoyed me with. I'm
wearing
doing.
A wig and a mustache.
Your form's wrong. Wrong form. Miss, your form sucks. You need form help. Heckle!
I guess, again, if you're not seeing the video, go to our podcast on Spotify, both on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Spotify, you've got the video, so you can see the visuals, including me. All right. I don't know. I hope it's comedy. Again, I hope Colbert's actually this is comedy. Because, I've told you, listen, we're reasonable conservatives, right? We understand that our country, had it gone the other way, the election, and Kamala Harris had become president, the country would be maybe unrecognizable. I don't know that I would be sitting here thinking that I would get arrested. Elon Musk might get arrested, right? I mean, somebody that is more high profile might get arrested, who played a pivotal role in fighting against the deep state. They might see the repercussions, the boot come down. I don't know that I necessarily think that I would. I wouldn't be sitting here, planning my my imminent departure from the country. But that said, some places I wouldn't go, like China. I wouldn't go to China. I wouldn't go to Great Britain either. All right. Excellent. So we've got that. I want to get some of these confirmation hearings too. But first, have you seen this thing about the Obamas? I don't know. Robbie, I don't buy into it. Well, the rumors are that Barack and Michelle Obama are not doing well, maritally speaking. Now, marital discord is not something unique to politicians. I mean, it happens. And the Obamas, no doubt, have been married a long time, so presumably there have been moments where their marriage has been less than ideal. Now, I bring this up because I guess this morning I'm seeing this tweet that came out probably about 10 o'clock. Barack Obama wished a happy birthday to the love of my life, Michelle Obama. You fill every room with warmth, wisdom, humor, and grace. He didn't say style. Notice that. And you look good doing it. Oh, you look good doing it. Debatable. Okay. I'm so lucky to be able to take on life's adventures with you. Love you. Okay. It's one of those things you put out. It's just emptiness, right? I don't know if that is any indicator. She's not going to the inauguration. We know that. She skipped Jimmy Carter's funeral, which is kind of a big deal for a prominent Democrat to skip the funeral of a former Democratic president and kind of beloved character in the Democratic Party establishment. So it's odd. Now, ask me how much I care about this. Robbie, go ahead. Ask me. I don't care one bit what happens to the Obamas. I don't care if they get divorced. I don't care if they stay married. I don't care if they have become a throuple with a Mancoon. All right? I really do not give a rip one way or the other. It's a non-issue to me. And I don't even care that they're not showing up, that she's not showing up to the inauguration. It's the fewer of these disgusting people, the better. I'd be fine if Bush just skipped the whole thing. I saw somewhere in the news today that I guess Clinton and George Bush and Barack Obama are skipping the inaugural lunch that I think happens after the inauguration. And it, typically would be attended by former presidents. And I'm thinking if I'm Trump and I'm the incoming administration and I've just defeated all of these buffoons, right? And they're pissed off about it, then don't come. More food for everybody else. You want to sit there and have George Bush snickering in the corner with Obama on your big day? This is like inviting your exes to your wedding reception. Right, Robbie? Would you do that? You're like, oh, hey, there's the girl I broke up with, 8 years ago. Look at her snickering in the corner. No, you don't do that. So I'm open. Look, I absolutely, Trump didn't want to see it 4 years ago. I don't blame him for that either. I don't blame him for not going there. He believed the election was stolen from him. He believed he got a raw deal. He absolutely was shafted by all these deep state clowns. And to watch them, take it from him. No, I wouldn't be there either. So these are some of the things that are happening. And again, if you're just joining us, it looks like the swearing in is going to move in indoors instead of being out on the dais there in front of the Capitol. It's all been set up though. It's ready to go. So I think it could pivot either way. I don't take this as being definitive news. I also think that there certainly is an overlay of safety, of security that's at play. And when the president walks down those steps, there are elevated positions around that area where someone could conceivably take a shot. It's open, right? And it's like the president is going to be there literally walking down those steps at high noon. I don't know. To me, it sounds, I've been actually frightened about this whole thing. So maybe I'm actually relieved that the thing moves inside. If it moves inside, it'll be inside the rotunda, which is, the central part of the of Congress there, of the Capitol building. So we'll see what happens with all of this. All right, enemies list coming up next. How real is this? How worried should Democrats actually be? Is Michael Cohen on that list? Hardy har har. Let's see. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Be right back after this. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right Show. Sam Mirejovsky here, your host. My email, sam@samandashlaw.com. And, of course, at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. And there, of course, I will, over the weekend, post reactions to any news that may be coming down regarding these pardons. I expect things to be popping this weekend. So just, if you're not on X, sign up for a free account. It doesn't cost anything. You can download it on any smartphone that you have. Support Elon Musk. Give him a 2 thumbs up. And follow at What's Right Sam. That is my account. So I'll be on there this weekend with my commentary. So when Trump assumes power, one of the things that may likely happen is real criminal investigations into the various wrongdoers who thought they could get away with election interference. And this isn't the election interference that the Democrats talk about. This isn't the men and women who went to the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, who walked into the Capitol building, trespassed, yes, I know, through open doors. Most of them, right, just went in, walked around, took pictures, laughed, gave the cops 2 thumbs up. I'm talking about the people out there who really did everything in their power to get Donald Trump, and they broke the law in doing it. People like Jack Smith, people like Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray at the FBI. There are people who did wrong. They violated the law. People ask me this, and I think they're serious. I think some of my Democrat friends were like, Sam, really, like, what laws did they break? And I say, listen, let's take a step back from people that the big headline people, but let's go, for example, to the folks over there in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Okay, so you got Alvin Bragg. Take Alvin Bragg's case against Trump. If there ever is a federal civil rights investigation that ought to be launched into a county prosecutor, this is it. Like, they violated Trump's civil rights fundamentally, and Daniel Penny's too. I would add that to the list. But by taking a misdemeanor, bootstrapping to it an absurd, the legal theory that was not based in any reality in New York law whatsoever, and turning it into a felony.
Could you try again?
So all of that is just, to me, absolutely illegal, right? And I really believe I'm 90% certain, Robbie, that some justice is going to come to some of these people. Now, one of the things that's going to be talked about, I think it's going to happen next week, I assume. We don't have a date yet for Kash Patel coming in. Kash Patel has previously, now if he's on the docket to become FBI director for Donald Trump. The Democrats have not set his confirmation hearing yet. But Kash Patel has created quite a long enemies list, people that he would prosecute if he ever had any amount of power in the Department of Justice. And some of the people on this list are interesting. Lloyd Austin, for example, the current defense secretary, outgoing defense secretary under President Joe Biden. John Brennan, former CIA director under President Barack Obama. This is a guy who has misused his clearances time and time again to wage political warfare against Trump. He's perjured himself many, many times. He's an absolute weasel. James Clapper, Obama's director of national intelligence. Hillary Clinton. James Comey. People like Merrick Garland's on the list, of course. Gina Haspel, the CIA director under Trump, who I think did much to undercut Trump as much as possible. Loretta Lynch, former attorney general under Obama. You remember she's the one that had the meeting with Bill Clinton on the runway and magically made problems go away for Hillary. I don't know about all that. Andrew McCabe, former FBI director under Trump. Mark Milley, who really ought to be tried, through the military, court-martialed for his role in the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Susan Rice, Rod Rosenstein, Peter Strzok. He and Lisa Page, you remember, were the two lovers at the FBI who were putting together the insurance policy. Trump's probably not going to win, but if he does, we've got a backup plan. Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor. It goes on and on. It's beautiful. Now, Chris Wray is on the list. Of course, I mentioned him earlier. So, I'm not being exhaustive. He actually put Joe Biden on the list too, which will be interesting if Joe Biden, if he words, I think Joe Biden's going to pardon himself. I do. I really think that Biden on the way out is going to pardon himself. And that's good because then Trump can pardon himself too on the way out. And that's going to be the new precedent. It's never been done before. That's the interesting part. Not been done before, but it's to me, I think it'll pass constitutional muster. I think it's doable. So anyway, what do you make of this? What do I make of this? And why is this important? We started with the deplorables under Hillary Clinton. We then, in phase one, I think, here of the Trump campaign, moved on to the deportables, the people here in the country illegally, many of whom have a criminal history, who have done crimes, committed crimes in the U.S., are clearly not welcome. We're going to get them out. But there has to be a reckoning after the deportables, and we'll call them the arrestables, the people out there who absolutely broke the law in order to ensure that their party would either remain in power or get back into power. If we don't prosecute this, if we don't at least try, because a number of people are saying correctly, you file some of these cases in D.C., you're never going to get a conviction, criminal, civil, or otherwise. Okay. Some of these cases might be able to be filed in other jurisdictions. Maybe some of these cases need to be filed after some cleanup of D.C. occurs and some of these deep swamp, bureaucrats lose their jobs and have to move out of the area, and you start to mix up the jury pool a little bit. But regardless, there has to be something and some consequence to the people here that did wrong. And you're going to see, this is my prediction, when Kash Patel gets up there, the Democrats are going to grill him 7 ways to Sunday when it comes to this list. And Kash Patel has this, perfect recall memory, and he will list every crime that each one of these people have committed. And I think it's going to be some of the best, most enduring footage from these confirmation hearings in 2025, simply because for the first time on the record, some of the stuff is going to be all said out loud on the record, yes, in the same place. And I don't know if America's ready for it, but I think a lot of people understand that this administration has told a lot of tall tales. I think they understand. I'll give you an example that's not related to lawfare. I think everybody understands that when the administration says, we don't know what these drones are, we think it's fine, it's okay, and people in New Jersey and parts of New York and Pennsylvania are reporting, SUV-sized drones right above their houses, and it's just an airplane, it's this and that. People do not believe anything that comes out of these folks' mouths. And so I think there's going to come this moment where the fight to persuade the public that this justice has to be brought, that's what needs to happen. And it will begin during the Kash Patel hearing. I think he's going to lay out his case for this. And the Democrats they haven't stopped with their lawfare. They're not going to end this, right? They're going to use whatever efforts they have, whatever state attorney generals are out there that are their allies, to still fight Trump, to fight his nominees, to fight his agenda, to fight the goals and objectives that the American people have for this president. So there it is. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be, I think this is going to be the most, Kash Patel's hearing it will be some of the biggest fireworks you'll ever see, 1. And 2, the most important thing here absolutely is to hold some of these people accountable. Whoever's left to hold accountable, depending on how these pardons. I don't know what part. Preventative pardons. We'll call them that, right? Hypothetical pardons come down the pipe. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right Show will be back in a minute.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Earlier today, Kristi Noem, South Dakota governor, was on deck in the Senate before the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. And answering questions from Josh Hawley, she absolutely articulated exactly everything that we want from this incoming administration. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. When asked what her plans would be for the border, Kristi Noem had this to say.
My goal and my mission is to build trust. We will undertake a large job and a large duty that we have to fulfill, that the American people expect us to do, by securing our border, to make sure that our nation is a nation with borders, or we're no nation at all, and that we are making sure that those criminal actors that are perpetuating violence in our communities and in our cities and towns and states are removed from this country, that there's consequences for breaking the law in our country again. There has to be consequences, because when Americans break the law, there's consequences. And why would we ever allow someone to come in from another country and not allow them, and not have consequences, or allow them to continue to go forward and to commit rape and murders and break other laws that endanger our society. So we've had over 13,000 murderers that are loose in this country that have come over that border. We've had almost 16,000 rapists and sexual assault perpetuators that are loose in this country right now. 425,000 plus people have criminal convictions that are here illegally in this country that our current administration is doing nothing to round them up and get them out of our country. We will be doing that immediately, and that will be the priority. And that is one of the reasons that today the American people have lost their trust. President Trump will build it back and know that their federal government is accountable to them and is working to put America first again.
And incidentally, this is the greatest mission, the most important thing that I think Trump needs to do is actually secure the border even more strongly than he did in his first term. And he's got to get rid of the criminals that are in this country. If Tom Homan, the border czar, who I think will really be the enforcement arm of Kristi Noem, I think Kristi Noem is going to be the face, the soft and gentle face, spokesperson, if you will, for the hardline approach that the Trump administration intends to take. But Tom Homan's going to be the guy, the guy behind the power behind the throne that is going to be just on the ground, making sure this deportation strategy gets handled. If this doesn't get done, right? I don't think that's going to come to this, but if it doesn't get done, I think Republicans, MAGA or otherwise, can pack it up and go home. Right? Everybody understands that the Democrats are open borders. If we just go back to being what, I don't know, what, Lindsey Graham, wants for the Democratic Party, then we're completely screwed. So Noem is right. Now, again, I don't think that that's going to happen because if you listen to what she's saying, it's a day one priority to shut the border down.
Concierge service for illegals, I think, is outrageous. Will you end the use of the CBP One app?
Yes, Senator, if confirmed, and I have the opportunity to be secretary on day one, CBP One will be shut down. There's data and information in there that we will preserve so that we can ensure we know who's coming into this country and who's already here that we need to go find, but also we make sure that there's another program, CHNV, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, where our federal government actually paid to fly people into this country directly from other countries without any vetting or knowing who they are. So there's several of these programs that need to be eliminated, and we need to ensure that we're following legal immigration laws.
I'm glad you just mentioned CHNV. This is this is a mass parole program. Of course, as you know, our law allows parole in only very limited circumstances. There are two circumstances, and it requires case-by-case evaluation. The present administration, soon to be gone, has granted mass parole in direct defiance of the law, not case-by-case evaluation. The CHNV program is one of those instances. Will you put a stop to this abuse of our parole law and our asylum system?
Yes, we will go back to case-by-case evaluation of these parole cases and ensure that we have more resources if you will partner with us to make sure that our legal immigration system is fully utilized, that we have more judges, more immigration courts so that we can process people legally and make sure that they are going through that process rather than like Joe Biden has done, use this as an excuse to allow people to come into our country with no consequences.
Outside of the legal processes in place, the rush that Biden has been in order to get, as much stuff Trump-proofed, I suspect a lot of it will be found unconstitutional, right? In other words, and when I say unconstitutional, I will say that it will violate whatever, prescriptive law there is in place for organizing how these things are done. So when Trump comes in and says, no, I'm going to undo it, the argument then in the courts will be, well, can you undo it? And Trump's, the Trump administration's whole thrust of their defense, which I think will be successful based on the more I hear, is that we accept that the Biden outgoing administration made these changes, made these legalizations, made these decisions, right? But they weren't done properly. And if they're not done properly, then they lose their legal strength, right? And they can be challenged and presumably undone. And these are there's going to be some major battles in the next 2 years that will slow this down. There's no question about it. But I also look. I go back to the Biden administration acting in defiance of court orders, doing things completely lawlessly, interfering with Texas's ability to defend its own border. They were told to shut down. They were told to shut down the processing of immigrants, of illegal immigrants, by the courts. Refuse that order. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. So by that same precedent, I'm looking at this. I'm going, well, Trump may just kind of ignore the courts, move ahead, and wait for it to get sorted out in the Supreme Court. And what are the Dems going to do? Form a human chain and stop Tom Homan from deporting, half of California? I don't think so. And by the way, if you believe some of the stuff out there, some of these illegals are self-deporting. They're so afraid of Tom Homan coming and they're packing up their stuff and they're getting the hell out. I haven't even gotten to what's going to happen with the cartels. Talk about an enemies list that really matters. Boy, I'll mention that here when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Joe Biden gave an interview yesterday, and I can't decide. Kamala gave some public remarks as well. I can't decide which one of these goobers is the brighter of the two. It's difficult to tell. I'll start with Kamala Harris here. This is yesterday evening, before adding her signature to her ceremonial desk in the vice presidential office, something you do when you're leaving the position, I suppose. You put your signature in there. Kamala Harris delivered one last parting, delicious word salad for all of us to enjoy.
I am fully aware that I am the public face of a lot of our work. And so I have the benefit of running into people all over our country who thank me. And I will tell you, I am fully aware that when they are thanking me, they are thanking our team for the extraordinary commitment that you each have and as a team have to lifting up the American people, lifting up their condition, lifting up their hopes and dreams, and understanding through it all the nobility of public service.
Oh, when people see me, they thank me. Oh, they're thanking you, peasants working in my office. Of course, yes, and sorry for being a colossal bitch to all of you. But hardy har har, here I am, and they're just everywhere I go, people just thank me. I'm the face of the expressions of gratitude from an adoring public. I have to readjust myself here in my chair as I'm about to fall out of it. This woman's conceit knows no limits. It's really astounding. And I wish I could, the camera's on her. The people who she is thanking by way of herself are standing behind the camera, so out of view. I'd love to see their faces. How many of them do you think, after everything that they've seen, the abuse that they've received, with her yelling at them and meltdown tirades, call me Madam Vice President, whatever, how many of them you think, the staffers, left the room and go, I hope that's the last time we have to hear from that witch? I bet you there's so many people in there who have had it up to their gills. I don't know who it is that's thanking her. Thank you, Kamala Harris. Oh my gosh. Well, the mind-numbed robots out there who've been programmed by the mainstream media to believe that Kamala Harris was the great savior of America. Imagine being that dumb. Joe Biden, competing for that honor, gave an interview to Lawrence O'Donnell, old trusted Lawrence O'Donnell at MSDNC. And this interview was silly. This was the best part about it. Biden thinks that during his presidency, one of his great achievements is that he had to bail out red states. He is the reason that red state economies could even survive. I mean, this is, I don't know what kind of derangement this is, but it's something.
And look, the other thing, Lawrence, I got a lot of criticism, understandably. We've invested more in red states than blue states.
That's in this book. That's in this report.
Well, for two reasons. One, red states really screwed up in terms of the way they handle their economy and the way they handle manufacturing, the way they handle access to supply chains. You know, I remember being out in Iowa, and I remember one of the big issues was that there was a small plant with 300 people, been around for 70 years. My grandfather worked there, I worked there, my son works there. And they had the best education system at the time and rated the best state education system in the country. And all of a sudden the kid comes home after he graduates and says, Mom, I got to leave. There's no job for me here. The factory shut down. Well, guess what? How do you run a country that way? How do you do that?
So a couple of things. One, we find out that Joe Biden worked in a factory. His dad worked in a factory. Hunter apparently worked in a factory before he was smearing poo on canvas and selling it for millions of dollars to nobody. So I mean, it's 3 more days of a dementia-addled non-compos mentis president. But let's take that aside and just give him a mulligan, okay? I believe the thrust of this argument is that he had to bail out red states because manufacturing left the country, right? I mean, or these plants couldn't operate, they were shut down. And something about good education. So taking that from the end, kind of starting from the end, first of all, the education system's in the toilet across the country because the Democratic Party has made a deal with the devil when it comes to the teachers' unions. And education, the system of education, public education, is no longer centered around the needs of the pupil, of the student, of the education. It is, if there is any education, it's centered around indoctrination, right? DEI and all this woke bull crap. But really, the education system serves to work for the teachers, not even really for the rank and file teachers who are struggling to do a good job, but for the teachers' unions, the administrators, and everybody who then rakes and pulls in, the fees, the dues from these poor educators and funnels them into the coffers of the Democratic Party. Now, that's just the education component of it. Is Joe Biden really telling us that he was saving red state factories from collapse? That it was Bidenomics? In blue state factories were growing? Do you know how many factories I know manufacturing that has moved from California to Southern Nevada in the last 4 years? Every time I blink and I attend a business meeting here, sitting on, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, and I blink and there's somebody new from California. I moved my company, my manufacturer. We build, we assemble water bottles, whatever. Oh yeah, I had it in California, moved it here to Nevada. This is, to the extent that these people believe this, and I think on some level, it's not just that Biden is unwell mentally. But I do believe that on some level, the Democrats believe that that Biden's leaving with a track record of success, and that anything wrong or bad in the economy really is the fault of, I don't know, DeWine in Ohio and DeSantis in Florida and any other, red state that seems to be doing okay. I mean, do you know how many people are fleeing, blue states to go to Texas, Florida, even Nevada? Nevada's a purple state. I mean, hell, we're not even a red state, but we're better than California. Surprise, surprise. I mean, this is outrageous. So, I mean, look, 3 more days of Biden wandering around the West Wing, shuffling, getting his ice cream cone, getting his milkshake, shaking his fist up at the air. Trump, Trump, Trump. This effort has done more to destroy this country, and he absolutely thinks he just did a swell job all around, pats himself on the back, and then walks out the door with a fire behind him. This is why, they're all like this. All the Democrats are like this. And Newsom is exactly the same way. Imagine 8 years or 4 years of Governor Newsom, President Gavin Newsom, what he could do to the country. Have a look at California, see how well that's going. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. The What's Right show will be back in just a moment. All right, friends, welcome back to the What's Right show. Friends, things not looking good down in California. Speaking of Gavin Newsom, efforts currently underway to oust Newsom, as well as Mayor Bass of Los Angeles. And now the Los Angeles Fire Department officials are demanding the removal of Crowley, the Lesbo chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Now, this is a expected development, by the way. And I mentioned this, I think, yesterday, and I have the clip here because it's just so heart-wrenching. Last month, United Firefighters of Los Angeles, their president, Freddie Escobar, warned people would die if things weren't improved for LA Fire. So this was well before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before the fires. This was going on at a fire commission meeting. Listen.
If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
Just last month, fire personnel packed an LA Fire Commission meeting, begging the city to rethink the budget.
These cuts came at exactly the wrong time, with calls for services at an all-time high and our firefighters at their breaking point.
We are straining our department's resources beyond the brink, and we cannot continue on this path.
Now, this is a story now, going, oh, look at that. Now it's interesting. They gave $1.3 billion in Los Angeles to the homeless problem. $1.3 billion. If this isn't we can never let the story die, because this is absolute what happens when leftism runs amok. $1.3 billion for meth heads running around, starting fires, cutting the department that then would put the fires out. That's California in a nutshell. It's maddening. Now, CNN caught up with the same LA Fire, United Firefighters Union president, Freddie Escobar, a few days ago. And the reporter interviewed him and starts talking to him about the aftermath of the fires. And again, if you're not watching this, if you're just listening, he's standing just in front of a residential neighborhood. It looks like that's just gone. It's just ash. It's devastated. He says this.
Years in the making, the fire department has warned of dire consequences, saying that they need more money, they need more firefighters, and they warned of this as recently as last month. At that commission meeting, you said, it's dire, someone will die.
It's eerie listening to your words because that's what occurred. So let me just take a minute. Sorry.
Fire Captain Freddie Escobar,
You're not supposed to make me cry.
35-year veteran of the Los Angeles
He's
Fire
in
Department,
tears. He had to
wishes
step away.
he'd been wrong. And this had not happened. For years, the LAFD union president warned that a disaster like the Palisades fire could happen. And while the cataclysmic weather conditions were historic, Escobar also blamed something predictable that hurt the firefight: money.
This is a woefully understaffed fire department. We either going to have a fire department that's going to reflect 2025, or we're going to have a fire department that's going to reflect the 1960s.
A CNN analysis shows out of the 10 biggest cities in the nation, Los Angeles ranks 9th when it comes to the number of firefighters per resident. And it shows millions of dollars in rescue equipment is just sitting in a lot, unused, because the fire department can't afford to hire the mechanics to repair it.
I'm looking at the video.
LA's
It's
fire
horrific.
chief said in a recent memo, the fire department staffing
Whole line of
levels
fire
were
trucks just
half
sitting there
the
idle.
size of what they should be.
Don't let anybody tell you this fire was not preventable. So who knew? It's just it's an act of climate change. Don't be a climate change denier, Sam. It's this is what happens when you don't pay attention to driving around in your V8. You know this fire, by the way, if we're going to talk about carbon emissions, this the fire is still burning. The fire already has negated our entire country's whatever carbon savings have been, tried to be put in place by all the EV rules, all the crap, all the limits on your residential fireplaces. They constantly berate us about everything. You can't burn wood, you can't anything, and then they decide to go full DEI. Build a fire department out of, cut the budget, put a bunch of crazy, incompetent lesbians at the head of it. And look, put a competent lesbian in there. I don't care. I don't know. I loved what Trump's incoming Treasury Secretary said about his sexuality. He's like, wow, Trump picked me because I'm the best person for the job, not because of my sexuality. And it's like, okay, perfect. So put some competent people in there. But no, they picked people based on their identities. Same with the lady Quinones that runs the LADWP, the public entity responsible for water and power in the greater Los Angeles area. So this whole thing is just a complete disaster. So, yes, I'm reflecting on this too. Robbie, I'm like Colbert. This is our last show with Joe Biden as president. It feels great. I'm excited about it. And I'm going to reflect a little bit on what to expect here on this program in the next 4 years. We are going to keep track of the winning. We are going to defend Trump. Look, I'll have my criticisms here and there, but look, I am going to be a defender of this agenda. As long as Trump sticks to the agenda, I am on board for everything that comes. And I think there's going to be more to talk about than there ever has been, especially in the first 12 months. I think it's going to be an absolute avalanche of news, things to react to, etc. Oh, it's going to be crazy. And I also expect that there's going to be a fair amount of resistance. I don't think it's going to be the same or as pronounced as it was in 2017. I think that Trump will move far more quickly to dismantle these elements within his administration and the federal government as a whole. But I definitely anticipate that there's going to be, they're not going to give up. They're just going to pack up and go home. And then I think one of the things that is going to be very interesting to see the rest of the world react. And I think that the movement that Trump began here in America, that spread to England during Brexit, and then has, sort of faltered as Trump has been, out of power. And now with Trump coming back, I think our influence on the world is going to be profound, on Europe, Western Europe, on affecting peace in regions like the Middle East and Ukraine. They're in that conflict that's been raging for 3 years now. Just absolutely, I anticipate a lot of good things happening, but it's not going to be easy. So I'm looking forward to it, Robbie. I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. We, of course, are going to be here on Monday. And we'll go through. I think we'll take you through some of the highlights of the speech. Trump's going to give a speech. Remember that when Trump gave his first inaugural address, a lot of people thought it was dark. George W. Bush was overheard saying, "That's some weird SH." I think it's going to be fiery this time around. I think it's going to be fiery. I think it's going to be maybe even a little darker. Who knows? I think Trump is going to stand at that podium, and the minute that he has that power of the presidency, you're going to see something different in him. Remember, by the time he's given the speech, he is president, and his people are already on the move in the federal bureaucracy to make stuff happen. I can't wait. Have a great weekend. Let's get through the next few days. I'll see you on the other side.